Well, hello. I know it's been a while, and I haven't been live, and I haven't been posting my videos or anything. I gotta say, I've actually been pulling back, and that's what my intuition's been telling me to do. I've been listening to my intuition, and it's been telling me that I needed to take some space, and that I needed to take that time that I was spending for certain things and apply it to myself in my own life. And I'm so grateful that I have, because I've needed it. I feel rested. I actually just came back from vacation. I went up north to Maine to see my family, my children, my grandkids, and my family. It was wonderful. I had an amazing visit, and it honestly, I actually recorded some content while I was there, and I haven't posted anything yet because I wanted to spend as much time with my family that I could, and I knew that when I come back, I'm like, I'll have more time, and I'm listening. I'm listening to my intuition of when was a good time to actually get back on social media, and I feel that today is, and the reason is because there was something that happened. Actually, I came home yesterday, and my daughter reached out to me today to let me know that this guy I went to school with, I was classmates with, my whole growing up, because I was raised in a small town, so all of us followed each other from kindergarten, from elementary school all the way up to when we graduated. And and he he something really bad happened, and he killed somebody. He flipped, tried to, try to kill his mom, to be quite honest. That's what I heard. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really, there's not a whole lot on it, but the point being is that it's a shock, and this isn't the first time that violence has happened up there and everywhere. When I was a senior, a girl I went to school with, she committed suicide. Another girl I went to school with was dating a man that was a year behind me, and he had anger issues and flipped out. He killed her one night. A guy that my sister went to school with, had a family, and they were having issues and split up, and he went crazy and flipped too and held him hostage and murdered them all, including himself. And it just seems like it's worse and worse, and it's sad to me. It's sad to me because that man he played sports, like he was a good guy, and to see people get to that point, it really, just from my own healing journey, it all goes back to our childhood, that we're not taught right coping skills, communication, how to release our energy, and it's like I said, it's no one's fault. This is stuff that is generations, that goes generations and generations, and things we're told, and we're taught that aren't right and aren't effective, and we're not taught proper things. And because of that, when if we're not taught right, which 98% of the population isn't, especially here in the United States. And I'm not being shitty, I'm being honest. It's true. Because I've worked hard to come out of that, and become aware, and like realize the areas of my life that I was struggling, and blame myself. Most of us were raised out of guilt, shame, manipulation, fear. And we carry that with us, and we live a life like that, paranoia, and it messes with us. And then we're not taught how to release. We're taught that all those things are weird. Oh, that's not true. That's weird. Go pop a pill. That's better. And we convince ourselves that those things are right, but it's not. And then we're not learning how to actually take care of our bodies, right? Mind, body, spirit. We're not in alignment, and that makes it worse. And we get stuck. And then it gets worse and worse, and we get more heavy and dragged down. And the more things that happen to us, the more, because life happens, and if we're not taught how to deal with life, then it just gets worse and worse, and we blame ourselves more and more until we get these unhealthy coping mechanisms where we're popping pills. We have these unhealthy addictions, whether it's shopping, porn, alcohol, drugs. It takes many gambling. It takes many things, even little shit you don't think so. Attention, right? Validation, because we're codependent. And you know what? I'm not gonna pretend like that's not true, because it is. And if we were all to sit down and be honest with ourselves, most of us can say that we have them, just like I still have some. But I'm aware. I'm very self-aware, and I'm fixing those things, because I don't want to be that way, because I see the results of it. I see it. I see it in even people in my family that refuse to take accountability, refuse to fix those things. And I see the result, and that is not going to be me. I can tell you that. And I feel like I'm at the place in my life where I've really come to like real like deep self-awareness, and being able to heal my body and my mind, body, spirit, and it's a feeling beyond compare. Speaking of that, look, I just found a feather. Confirmations, hi. But it's true. And so I felt like I wanted to do this video because awareness, self-awareness, you know, because it's very easy for everyone to be so quick to judge and blame and say, oh, what a horrible man, oh, what a horrible, oh, this, oh, that. No, he has issues, man. You don't do those types of things if you're normal, if you're right. And that all leads to trauma. This is all trauma related stuff that manifests as violence, anger. Because I know, because I used to feel those things, where sometimes I couldn't even sleep at night because I blamed myself. I would cry myself to sleep. I felt so alone. Like some days I didn't even know how I was going to make it through a day because I felt so bad about myself. But I never gave up, because I always knew that I had to keep fighting. Sometimes I didn't know what for, but I knew that I did, and I knew I was worth it, even though sometimes I didn't feel it. You know, at the moment, I knew, you know, what they call your higher self, knew it. And I would pray. I would pray for courage. I would pray for strength. I would talk to my mom. I would talk to myself. I would talk to God. I would talk to, you know, Ed, my spouse. I talk to my friend Bridget, you know, to ask for clarity, guidance. You know, I don't ask for the problems to be taken away, because then that's not doing the work. We got to learn how to do the work. We got to learn how to, you know, how to really fix these things, because if we don't fix these things and we don't become self-aware, and it's not weird, and it's not, and you know, it's not like we're gonna sweep it under the rug and not talk about it. Well, like I have said multiple times, when are people gonna start talking about it? When it's too late? When people are committing violent crimes and destroying their future and destroying other people's lives? When they've beaten themselves down enough so they're sick and unhealthy, and then it gets to the point of no return where it's almost impossible. I mean, we always can improve, but it's going to get to a point where some things are going to be, damage is done. We can do better, but only to a point, right? But the sooner we come to awareness, and the sooner we realize this, the sooner that we can start undoing this and realize we have the power to fix it. We don't need all this money. We don't need all this fancy therapy. We don't need all these fancy things and all this extravagant stuff, you know, to make us better. That's not true. And you know what? I'm proving it. I've proved it. I'm figuring this out on my own. I only went to therapy for 6 months, and I'm glad that I did, because it taught me how to speak. But other than that, I've done it all on my own by watching YouTube videos, watching podcasts, doing my own research, taking the steps by praying, taking the steps by looking for the signs, and then moving my life forward, never giving up myself, pushing when I needed to, but like learning my body more. And now it's to the point I go by everything how I feel. Because if we truly can get to the point where we understand ourselves and how we feel, then we're going to do it right. And that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it right. And I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of, you know, especially going up to see my children. Like, I'm so proud to see my children doing better and well, and like and taken the steps to improve their lives and self-awareness. And it was just such a calm and peaceful visit. I can't even explain it. Like the day before, Saturday, the day before I left, we went to Funtown Splashtown, and that was so much fun. And it ended up just being my children and my daughter-in-law, my son-in-law, my grandkids, and it was perfect. But I always include people because I wasn't able, it was a quick visit. It ended up being quicker than what I thought, which was great because now I get a couple days to decompress, take time to myself, absorb, process everything, and use it to help me grow and become better. And that's what we should do. So it actually worked out perfect, and I get to go to work a day early, and no one knows that because I'm gonna be able to get caught up so I don't stress myself out when I go back, and that way I can get all so it actually worked out for the best. Everything happens for a reason. But it was just such a wonderful day, and it was just to spend time with the ones we love, and to appreciate, and just to be happy, to be around each other, and to say good things and say encouraging things. Because it's just, to me, it's all backwards. People focus in, it seems like the spirit of this world is just focusing on the negative, focusing on what we could do better, focusing on the lack or how far we have to go, looking at the glass half empty. And I don't. I've always been that way. Positive. I want to look at it as half full. I'm gonna, I haven't always been the best at it. I've had to learn how to get better with my mindset, and learning how to control my anxiety, get rid of these unhealthy thoughts and these intrusive thoughts, and how to learn how to release, and how to be happy being myself, and feel free, and all those things. And I have, and I'm, and it's not been easy, and people don't see it. And they don't need to, because I've documented things, I've talked about it, and I know the truth, and that's all that matters. And I know how I feel. I know the type of person I am. I know the type of heart I have. I know the love that I have for others, and I'm confident in that now. Whereas before, I would allow external things to make me question myself, and I'm not doing that anymore. And we all need to get to that place where we feel that way about ourselves, where we could take control and take our power back, and realize, that we deserve to be loved, but we deserve to be treated right, but we got to treat others right. And in order to do that, we got to be self-aware and honest with ourselves. And there's no shame. There's no shame in saying that we're messed up. Of course, we're supposed to be. That's the point of life, right? But not to stay there. But to realize that, but go, you know what? I'm going to fix it. I'm going to use these things as lessons to help me grow and get better. Because I want to see I want to make it. And then when we feel good about ourselves, that radiates out to others. And so it's, just my whole life journey too is really helping to teach me, to be careful, not to judge. And I have to keep talking to myself about that, because it's easy to say that, but then we get caught up, especially when it comes to maybe someone that we really have love for, that maybe is, that we, feel a different way about. Because when it comes to our heart, that's not easy. And it's not easy to let someone in, right? It certainly hasn't been for me, but I'm learning how, and I'm proud. And it starts with learning how to love ourselves the right way. So I wanted to say that, because, that's been heavy on my heart, and it's sad. It's sad to me to see these things happen, and to see people do those things to myself. Because also another man I went to school with, his whole family lived in a town that we went to school with, and he killed his dad. He murdered his dad several years ago. I think he's still in prison for that. And they were big family, growing up, and they had a lot of money, and they had that, but that don't matter, right? See, it's not about money. That's what people think. It's not about that stuff. In fact, sometimes that causes more problems than anything. Like I said, I'm digging living a simple life. I love my simple life. I feel good. I don't have the stress, the worry. Like, I'm making good decisions. Just positivity. I feel good. It's a feeling beyond compare. And so I'm not going to be ashamed to talk about it. I'm not going to be ashamed to say that. And I want people to know I'm proud of them too. Just like I'm proud of everyone that is taking the steps to better their lives. Because it matters, and we should. We need to lead by example. That's how we create a heaven on earth. We do it individually by leading by example, by fixing ourselves. Because we all have trauma. No one is. And if you can't admit that, then man, you already got issues. Like, you're living in denial here, because that's not realistic. That's not reality. We got to live in reality and not fantasy land, which I did too. I would create these scenarios that would play out in my head. Seriously. If one thing went wrong, I would create this whole thing from 10 years down the line, how my life's going to work out. And it's not true. It's really learning how to live in the present. And even if we don't know how, even if we're like, how do I even start? It's okay to not know. Pray about it. Pray, I don't know how. Can I have some guidance? I need a sign. It will happen. I promise you. It happened for me. It happened for me. I was so lost. And I knew with my ex-boyfriend, I was so missing. I was so scared, and I would cry at night, and I didn't know what to do, and I prayed to my mom, because at the time, when I came out of my religion, I was so lost. I wasn't even, my family was some of my family, was not talking to me. And I felt guilted and ashamed about that. I felt like I was a bad person. I felt like it was all my fault. I didn't even know if God existed. My whole belief system was gone. And the only person I knew that was real was my mother. And that's when the night I prayed to her. I prayed to her to help me, because I didn't want to feel that way. To be treated that way by someone so cold, so uncaring. But I realized that I was allowing it, because that's how I was really feeling about myself. And you know what? That's how she felt about herself. And that's how most of us really feel about ourselves deep down. We go through phases where we feel that way. When stuff happens, we blame ourselves. And after that night is when I started getting signs, and then that's what led me here. And I cannot tell you the changes in my life since moving here. It's been over 3 years, just a month over 3 years, and it's such a blessing. I mean, I became a certified yoga teacher, meditation teacher, and even though I'm not practicing it, I'm using it to help myself. And I am practicing it by doing this. I taught my granddaughter. It was fun. It was so funny. We were at Fun Town, and she went on the swings. And I was watching her, and she was getting scared. But you could see she was practicing her breathing, because I taught him how to breathe. Ways to calm our nervous system. And you know what? It worked. She told me it worked. She was going, and it worked for her. And then she ended up having a good time. So I told her that anytime you feel scared, anytime you feel afraid, because we don't want to and I caught myself doing that too, saying, don't be scared, don't be afraid. But no, we shouldn't tell them not to be, because we have a right to feel how we feel. And being scared and having fear is normal, but it's learning how to work ourselves through it when we feel that way, so then it's less and less, because there really is nothing to fear. We want to be self-aware and realize what's maybe not healthy for us or dangerous for us or something we might want to stay away from, but not be scared and afraid. And so I would tell her, it's okay to be afraid, it's okay to be scared. When you feel that way, these are the things that you can do that will help. And I taught her how to breathe, and you know what? It works. And it's free. It doesn't cost anything. It helps your body. It helps your mind, body, spirit. It helps build your faith because you realize that it's true. You don't need medication. You don't need all these things. You don't need to have to pay all this money and order all these supplements and products. The more you focus on yourself, the more you realize what works for you. Not saying that you don't need some things, but we're all different. So as you get to know yourself, you'll get to realize the things that work for you. Like me, I try different stuff. There's some things that I will take every day, but then there's some things that I try and I do different things because that's what life's about. Like that is one thing about me. Like I'm willing to try stuff. And it has worked because I've been willing to try things. I've been able to figure things out. I do my own research. I just don't do it blindly. But if I feel like it's something I want to do, why not? There's no rules. Who says? Maybe that might not work for you. So what? Then it don't work for you, but it might work for me. Because we're all different. Our needs are different. How our bodies run is different. I do believe that like a lot of the things, like our core value systems are the same as far as how we should treat people, like really following Jesus' example and operating out of the fruitages of the Spirit. But I've had to learn how to really fully apply that in myself first. And that started with learning how to set healthy boundaries, learning how to let people, release people with love. And not take it personal and not feel like I wasn't good enough or not feel like there was something wrong with me or not blame myself. Realize like, no, we're some people we all get to different places in our lives at different times. So when we're just misaligned, that's it. And then some people will come back together and get in alignment and some people won't. And you know what? That's on some people. But all I can focus on is myself. And that's what I'm doing. And I know the things I've done and applied and the tools I've used have worked. And I see where my life's at. I know how I feel. I'm confident in that. And it's an amazing feeling. And physically I'm doing, like my body's just naturally like doing it naturally without forcing it. And it's just a wonderful feeling. So I just encourage everyone to just keep going. Even if you don't know how, even if you're not sure. Have faith, believe, pray. Seriously, it works. Even if it's just, and when I say pray, it's just talking to yourself. Like I said, self-awareness, whatever you feel comfortable with. And whoever you feel comfortable talking to, even if you just talking about stuff in your head, like sorting it out in your mind, and sometimes like even like meditate, like that's the thing, like meditation is just self-awareness and learning how to still your mind so you can be at peace and you can think clearly. Learning how to control our nervous system. It's true, and we can calm and we learn how to go slow. And so I've adapted that in how I train. That's why I train slow now. I train a lot slower. I feel my body. I'm using control. I didn't have control of my body physically. I'm going too fast. I'm all over the place. And then I'm not breathing right. I'm shallow breathing. So learning how to slow down in our lives, it makes a difference. So I'm going to go home and eat because I'm hungry. And I actually have one more day off, so I'm excited. I'm going to get up early and go to the gym. I have my plan. I bought myself a little magnet calendar on my fridge so I can, plan my day. And I'm making making changes in my own life, fine-tuning stuff in my own life too. Like we never stop. We're always growing and glowing. That's the fun part. But it just gets better and better and better because we learn how to handle things better. So anyhow, on that note, happy Motivational Monday. Keep making good choices.